Okay, this is the Boston Sports Pod, the podcast that brings you all things Boston sports with Joe and Shawn. Today is May 11th, 2014. I'm Shawn Klein, and my co host is Joe Danker. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Shawnee.
Did you have a good Mother's Day?
So far, so good. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, we took my wife, my son and I took my wife out for her favorite breakfast, Swedish pancakes, at the Stockholm Inn, and it's big out here in Rockford area, where I live, unfortunately, in the Boston diaspora. Um, and
The Stockholm Inn for Swedish
yeah,
pancakes. That's
yeah,
very fitting.
yeah, yeah. It's good. It's a huge place. It's and a big breakfast place, and Kristen loves it, and so we go there every year. And and then we're just chilling, waiting for the skies to open up. So
Oh
hopefully,
yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a big storm coming in. But anyway,
Ouch, dude. It's 77 degrees and sunny out here right now. FYI.
that's
But that's
nice.
all right.
Yeah, it was nice
Yeah.
here today
You.
too.
Yeah.
So got a couple things to talk about here. We got a couple Bruins games. Got three Bruins games. The
Mm-hmm.
Patriots draft. And a couple other odds and ends, but those are obviously the big money items to talk about. So how do you want to do this? You want to kind of just talk a little bit of overview? You want to just go into each game? How do you want to start?
Well, Bruins, right?
Oh yeah, Bruins. Yeah. You want to start with
Yeah.
game three? Just talk a little bit about game three.
Shoot, I don't even remember Game 3 at this point. It's been 3 games.
Hmm?
You mean Game 4, Game 5? You know what? Well,
Well, game three
Game
they
4.
they lost. That was the game three they lost. That was the first game in Montreal and they lost.
Right, right.
Right.
I barely even remember it after the past 2 games. It's all coming into it's all blurring for me at this point.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that game is
look,
is is fun to put out of mind because it was a very frustrating game, a game to watch, right? I mean, they almost came back, right? I mean,
oh, sure, sure, yeah,
right.
okay.
I was texting with you. You thought they were going to do it. I didn't. I just there was no way that they were going to be able to do that 3 games in a row to come back, 3-0, 3-1,
Yeah,
and tie it up with that kind of time that was left, and particularly the way they were playing and the way that Subban was playing. I mean, that guy,
I know. He's
he is.
awesome.
I was just going to say that he is really. He is a gamer. That guy just nonstop. He's on the ice the whole time, and he's just
Mm.
fierce. And I mean, he's a guy you don't want to play against, but you'd love to have on your team. I mean, he just when he scores, like he just. I love his post. I don't like seeing it because
No,
it
but
means
his post goal
yeah,
celebration,
yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
he's
It's
intense. He
solid.
loves it. Yeah, that goal. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but that goal, the second goal he scored last night. What
Hmm.
a bomb! The boy
Hmm.
has a shot like he can skate, he can pass. He's got a
Well, did you
shot that's like
did you
out of a
see him practice?
cannon.
He was like jumping up and down, hitting the ice.
Yeah.
Give me the puck. Give me the puck.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was
Yep, and they gave it to him, and boom, no
yeah,
goal, no goalie could have stopped that. Even in slow mo,
yeah,
that puck was going fast across the screen. Like that was a shot. I
yeah. That
want
was
him to be a Bruin. I
ridiculous.
want him. His contract is up at the end of the year. I want
Is
him in
it?
Boston. Yeah, maybe get into this a little later, but some of the quotes that his quotes post game, he's a really good guy too.
Yeah.
Like he says everything. He gives tons of compliments to the Bruins, and I just feel like he may even feel like he wants to play for the Bruins as well,
Well, I mean,
which
think
would be
about the Thornton thing, where Thornton
mm,
sprayed some water on him, and
how
even like
awesome was that?
it's ridiculous.
Well, in a way, yeah.
I mean, it's awesome in like in a juvenile kind of way where you love to see that, but at the same
Right.
time, it's sort of like you really can't do that at that level. That's a little,
No, that's right. That's a little cheap. That's a little tacky, but
yeah,
I still love it because that's my boy.
right. Oh, well, Thornton. I mean, we were talking about that last night. That's just the way he is. I mean, he's just always he's sort of like a thug in a way, but like a good-natured thug, and he's always got the back of his boys. I think I said, what did I say to you? I said he's like a guy from Southie. Like he's always
Yeah,
got your back. You just
he's always looking to scrap, and he's always got his boys back.
yeah. So and
That's right.
he may not make the best decisions in the world, but he's got your back,
No,
and
right. You love to have a guy like that in your crew. You know?
absolutely, absolutely. You don't want him on the other side, that's for sure. I mean,
No.
the fine was weird. The fine was $2,800,
Yeah.
$2,820.52.
Where'd
Well,
they
you
come up with that number?
well, apparently the
50
art
cents.
I looked that up and it says that it's the maximum allowable under the CBA. But how do you even get that? And there must be some algorithm. Like they didn't just like
Yeah.
obviously that's not there's so there must be some algorithm that they come up with that generates that as the maximum. But that was weird. That was pretty silly, stupid. I'm glad he didn't
Yeah.
get a penalty for that
Yeah, I
in the
know.
game because that I mean, can you imagine? Oh, that would have been. I mean, he's got to control himself, but
And he was over there laughing, and
yeah,
they showed him laughing when PK went to the refs to complain about it.
right,
It was a hoot. It was a hoot. It was childish. It was petty. It was tacky. But you know what? It added some color to the game, and that was
yeah,
fun. And then we can get into this, but the PK Lucic stuff
yeah.
was also fun. When Luch was flexing his
I
muscles
like
and
that.
PK
I
went up
like
that.
that.
Oh, it was
It's like,
great. It
yeah,
was a
yeah,
great
yeah.
shot.
Come on, yeah,
Well, what Subban said after the game, he said, "Listen, he's like, you know what? Lucic is a big boy. He was flexing his muscles because he has bigger muscles than I do. So go for it. He's a big tough guy. I have a ton of respect for him. I like playing against him because he brings out the best in me. I got nothing against him at all.
yeah,
It's just the game and things happen that way. Like Subban says stuff like that,
yeah,
and it makes you go, geez, he's got such a good head on his shoulders.
yeah.
Come play for us, man. Come play for us. You know."
I love that.
So
Yeah, he's a gamer.
yeah,
I mean, and that
he
game. I mean,
really is.
game three was just all about him. I mean,
Yeah. God,
the
is he good?
I mean, the number of breakaways in game three was devastating. I mean, it was just it wasn't all Rath's fault. I mean, he needed to rescue the D a little bit in situations
Yeah.
like that, and he definitely wasn't on top of his game. But still, some of that. I
No.
mean, you have breakaway after breakaway. There's only so much any goalie's going to be able to do, you know.
Yeah, that Subban breakaway, he's gonna score that in just about any goalie in the world. But the breakaway by Weiss in that game, that's the one that he's gotta stop that one. You know, and like I think I said to you during the game, Shawn, goalie's gotta at one point stand. It's the timing of the saves or the non-saves that can crush you. At that point in the game, if I remember correctly, the Bruins were dominating in puck possession, time in the ozone. Boom, Canadians get a breakaway and he lets in a goal. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, it's crushing when that happens. I was saying to you, sometimes your goalie's got to stand up, make that huge save, and it is a breakaway. I get it, but it was Weiss, who's not a goal scorer,
Yeah.
so that one I think Tuca
But
had to have.
it was just the number of breakaways. I mean, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so many different little mental mistakes and defensive breakdowns that led to that
Mm.
just gave me confidence going forward because I felt like okay, we can correct this, and also it just with the number of times that the Bruins were able to come back and score, it did feel like Price is beatable. He's good. He's a fantastic goalie and he's tough.
Right.
But it felt like the Bruins were just making bad decisions on their shots too, either shoot,
Mm.
shooting too early, or too late. Like
Mm.
I see that, and that I think is still going on with Krejci. Krejci's
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't seem like he's pulling the
Krejci's
trigger.
Krejci's awful, and I know Ginla scored a goal yesterday, but Ginla's been awful too. I'm sorry, I'm gonna come out and say that, but
Well, at least the Giggle has been. I mean, he hit the post a couple times. I mean,
he also fell down twice in the first period, shot once or twice wide of the net. Like, come on, man, get it together. I'm not happy with the Ginley, and I'm not happy with Krejci. But anyway,
So, okay, so game three felt like
yeah.
I had a little bit of confidence because it felt like it was correctable for the Bruins to go into the next game to correct some of those mental breakdowns. And then, looking at it, well, look, if they can keep Subban at bay and contain him, then that's going to give us an advantage. And that's what I think we saw in game four is a much stronger start. They were out of the gate much more aggressive, and they really, I think, did a much better job of keeping Subban at bay and containing him. And same with Game Five. I mean, I think Game Four and Game Five were pretty similar in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
so, uh, and then Rask, I think, just stepped up his game in both those. I mean, he definitely was better.
Big time. Big time.
And maybe it was just okay, couple more days recovering from having a kid and uh,
Yeah.
sort of just getting his mind back into the right place.
Yeah.
I
Maybe.
now, if you were a professional hockey player on a team that was, or really any sport, but a professional hockey, you count back from the playoff period, 9 months. and don't have sex in that month. What are you doing having a kid
Right.
during the
I
playoffs?
know. I
You
know.
know?
What did she pull? Did she pull the goalie on the goalie?
Hey, hey.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. If you know, yeah. But you're right. Tuca's got to plan better. Come on now.
Yeah.
Tuca
No,
and his SO have to plan better.
and any professional athlete. I mean, look, if you're in the World Series or your baseball team, you don't, so what would that be? January, February, December, just use
Yeah.
better protection, be more careful, or
Right.
if you abstain, you got to plan, have a little blackout period, you know.
Right.
There's
Simple as that.
plenty of time in the off season. So,
Yeah. I'm good
um,
at blackout periods myself. I'm in one. So
hey,
if
all
Tuca
right,
needs help with that, he can call me.
that's a weird request, dude. All right, a little giggle fit there. Um, the big surprise in Game Four, the story everyone's talking about is what's his name, Matt Frazier, the
Yeah. The
yo-
frozen yogurt boy.
the yogurt eating call up from the HL coming up. That's pretty
Right.
cool. Um, one the thing that continued in Game Four though was this puck luck. Hitting the posts, not getting
Mm.
rebounds. And
Lack
some of
of puck luck.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of that I think is the hesitancy to take those shots, and I think you saw a little bit less of that in Game Five. I think they were more aggressive in just starting to take some shots and go after things a little bit more, and that I think helped them out. I mean, some of the obviously the power plays helped too, but
Yeah. The thing about the puck luck, though, and I've been meaning to bring this up, is if you're hitting posts, there's two things that are also going on there. It's not just puck luck.
right,
It's also that's all the goalie's giving you.
right,
And Carey Price has been so good, up until he's been so good the whole series that we probably are trying to be too fine with our shots.
yeah,
Riley Smith clanked it off a post yesterday early in the game. So we're trying to pick our spots, and we're trying to go roof with him or high glove side. And, we're maybe getting a little too fine with
yeah,
aim there. So that's part of it, I think. And
definitely,
also, that's what he's given us. The posts are Price's friends. So
right,
kudos to him for only, he's covering the goal. He's not covering the posts. You know what I mean? So,
right.
but there is an element of puck luck to it too. So, and
Well,
like the crossbar has been Carey. It's like the Bruins have been playing against PK Subban, Carey Price, and the crossbars.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, that's I'd be hard pressed to name anybody else at this point, just because those seem to be that if you take any one of those away, it seems like the series is already over. Um,
right.
a couple of the points on Game Five. I'm still annoyed with Marchand. Um,
Yep.
just that stupid penalty and it leads to a goal. He just loses his cool too much.
Mm,
I mean, I like his aggressiveness when he's aggressive, but it's a fine line with him between being aggressive and being stupid, and it just
mm-hmm.
seems too often. And at this point, I mean, it's similar to Thornton, but I think we expect one. Maybe we just have that expectation with Thornton. Plus, Thornton's not out there to score
Yeah.
goals, you know.
No.
So. Um, that's what's annoying about Marchand. I just expect more out of him and want him to keep his cool more.
Yeah. Thing is, Marchand, he's a talent. Okay. He brings a lot to the table with goal scoring ability. He's got some real gifts there. Okay. Um, he brings a lot to the table with his scrappiness, his agitator role, and it's great to have a guy like that on your team. It's great that any team kind of wants that. Every other team hates that guy, but you want that guy. But you want Marchand to be smart enough to know when to act that way and smart enough to know where the line is. And
Yeah,
too often he doesn't. I don't. Maybe he's not the brightest guy in the world. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know where that line is or when the timing is right to act that way. I want him to act that way, but not go to the point where he's drawing penalties and not drawing penalties at the wrong time. He doesn't
right.
seem to have that judgment in the playoffs this year. So
Yeah,
like I said to you in the Detroit series, I think you know what, maybe we ought to look to ship him,
right.
look to move him out. He's
Yeah,
still young. He's still got a lot of we can definitely get something for him. But Julian really likes him. At least that's what he says publicly.
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens in the offseason with that. But I don't know. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. I'm not a huge fan of Marshawn, particularly not right now either.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just down on him. I'm not like, I don't hate the guy or
Mm.
anything. He's not, not like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy or anything like that. I just think, he's got to make better decisions on that front, like we were talking about. And um, it just, particularly because in that situation he gets a penalty and they get a goal, and that starts to, and then they get another goal later, and starts to slow down that lead or close the lead, and that becomes
Yep.
that becomes dangerous. I mean, I still felt pretty good, largely because of Rask. I mean, Rask just seemed to
Mm-hmm.
get better and better, and just more, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that goal that Subban scored, like you said, no one's going to stop that. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, that
you
was a
stop that by
blast, right?
you're stopping that by accident if you stop that,
Right. Yep.
and so I just felt like he was solid. He was making both game 4 and 5, just making saves he wasn't making in the earlier games.
Mm-hmm.
Situations that in the first 3 games I was, oh shit, and they got a goal. In this game, he stops it, and it's almost effortless. So, or it looks
Right.
that way, right? And so I think that that's a big part of why I felt more confident, and why, I said that I hope I don't regret it. But I think it was after game 4, I told you this is over in 6, and I still hold to that. I think we'll win in Montreal and move on.
You might be right.
So
You
I
might
mean,
be right.
I hate making predictions like that. You know me. I mean, I'm a philosopher. I'm all about logic and reason when it comes to sports. I'm so
You're not so
superstitious.
much about, yeah, well, you're
Well, I
right.
just get really
Logic and
superstitious.
reasons
Yeah.
logic and reason seem to go out the door with you in sports sometimes, my friend.
It was, yeah. I just get so superstitious. That Bud Light commercial. I think it's only strange or weird if it doesn't work. I mean, I hate to admit all the stupid things I do. Like, I mean, I'm sure you know this one, that I don't wear my team's paraphernalia the day of a game. I won't do it.
No, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I won't do it. Every time I do it, they lose, or at least with my
Really?
my selective memory of it. Um, yeah, no, I wore my Bruins shirt game 1. I did I wear? I don't know if I wore something before game 3,
Well,
but
here's a big question, Shawn. Were you
yeah,
wearing Patriots gear when you went to the 2007 Super Bowl?
I think I might have had a hat. I have to think about it.
Then that one's on you then. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that was
That's
my
why we
fault.
lost. Okay. Could have
Yeah,
been 19-0, but you had to don some gear.
I know. No, it's not the ref's fault for not calling in the grasp, or Rodney Harrison for
Here
not
we
knocking
go.
out the ball. Oh, come on. Why you bring that up? Why you bring that up, man? You got to bring that up. Now I'm all upset.
That's got to come up at some point here.
It's
Because, well,
ridiculous
I,
how
I gotta
upset I still
I gotta
can
say
get
this.
about that.
Okay. All right. Well, Bruins are up 3-2.
Okay,
Positive stuff.
yeah, back to
All
Bruins.
right.
Back to Bruins.
Because that was the worst crushing loss in my sporting lifetime. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. That was brutal.
It was awful, and you were there to witness it. Oh God, it
Yes.
must have been. I had to call out sick to work the next day. I was so depressed. I
Yeah.
was depressed for like a week after that, like legitimately.
I'm still
Ay, ay,
depressed
ay.
about it. Are you kidding me?
I know, I know. It still makes me upset. 19-0, we could have been.
Yeah,
19-0,
well,
the greatest single football season in the history of football was there within our grasp,
yeah.
and it slipped away.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I know. How did we get on this?
yeah.
Why did we get on this? Anyway, back to the Bruins. So what do you think?
Bruins.
You think that
Peace.
you think they'll take care of it in Montreal?
No, I don't, Shawn. I think
Really,
I
Mr. Optimism.
well, you know what? I said it's going 7, and
Yeah.
we've said all along it's going. Well, we said 6 or 7, but I went on the record last week saying 7,
Yeah,
and
we
I'm going to
said
stick to
7.
that. And listen, you know what? I would not be surprised, Shawn. Montreal squeaks one out up there. They may get some home cooking from the refs for once. I really haven't seen much of that.
No,
It
it's been
may
good.
rear its ugly head. Yeah, may rear its ugly head in Montreal for Game 6 because it is an elimination game for them. And Game 7 back in Boston. You watch. I mean, it's going to be a 1-1 tie going into overtime, and then
Oh,
it's yeah, I know. But I can just see it going that way. As comfortable as we feel right now as Bruins fans
oh yeah.
with a 3-2 lead, I just, by Monday night, Shawn, or by Wednesday night, we could be 9:30 Wednesday night, we could be in overtime, and any bounce, any roll, any single mistake, and our season's over. I would not be
Oh,
surprised if it goes that way, man. It's Montreal. They're like our kryptonite, Sean.
yeah.
They just
Well,
we can beat every other team, but they just give us such a hard time. If we go up there and we win it in six, I'd be thrilled, but I'm just not expecting it. I don't
my
know.
f- my friend, I have a good friend who's a Detroit Red Wing fan, and he emailed me and said the Bruins just need to pretend like they're playing Detroit and they'll beat the Canadiens. And I think that that's part of what
Yeah,
you're saying is it's
yeah.
more mental on our part that we let them back in because it's I mean they're a good team. I don't want to make like
They're a very good team. Yeah,
yeah, but I mean I do feel like overall, you go down the line, we're a better team. And overall, I think we have more talented guys,
definitely.
and it's they're giving us fits, but I think that's we got to figure out a way to get beyond that. And I think one aspect of it is that in games 4 and 5 we contained Subban, and I think that was
Yep,
a big part of it.
yep.
And you got to continue to do that. Now, obviously, they're a well coached team, they're a good team, they're going to try to figure out a way to uh, break Subban out of that, and they probably and maybe they will, and maybe that's why they'll go on and they'll win, um, they'll win Game 6. But uh, I mean, I know I said 7, and you know, but I feel like when we won Game 4 that was in overtime, that was it. Game was over. I feel like it was or Matt that was it, and I hope I'm
You
right.
felt like that was it. The series was over. You thought at that point,
That's what I
like
texted you. I said it's done in 6, that we were going to win the
you
next.
did,
Yeah.
you
So
did.
now, maybe I
Well,
jinxed it,
yeah.
and
There we go.
you can blame me, but you know that was what that was my thought. I was like, next goal wins the series. I mean, I had that's just the way I felt through like the half of the third period and into overtime. I was like, next goal wins the series, and we got the next goal, courtesy of yogurt eating Matt Frazier.
Well, you know what? How have you felt going through this series with the Canadians, game by game, win, loss? Has it been a roller coaster for you emotionally, Shawn, as a fan? When we went down 2-1, were you like, oh God, backs up against the wall, do or die is the next game? And now that we're up 3-2, do you feel comfortable? Like, has it swung to extremes with you?
Not not to extremes. I mean, I definitely back and forth. I mean, I was not feeling good, you know, down 2-1. Um, but I had a quiet confidence there that we were going to at the very least make a series out of it, that we weren't just going to get washed out, that it was still going to go 7 even if we lost. And so I still feel that way. So I think overall it hasn't been as much as a roller coaster as I expected. I just partly it's because the way we were losing, that those games were ended up being pretty close. We were able to score when in those games when we needed to, and so much of it seemed like the some of the bad puck luck that we were talking about, just uncharacteristic poor play, or I don't want to say poor play, but at least average play on the part
Mm,
of
some
the strength,
mistakes. Yeah.
yeah, on the strength of our team, goaltending and defense, and we were
Defense. Yeah.
making some breakdowns, bad passes and turnovers and stuff like that,
Yep.
not keeping track of certain guys. And those are things that I felt like, okay, those are correctable. Those are things that are uncharacteristic for us. So even though we
And they were
lost,
corrected. Yep.
yeah, and when they were corrected, we the Bruins, took over. I mean, I think Game 5. Well, I mean, they worked their way back into it, but I think it was a dominating performance for the Bruins.
It
Um,
was. It
so
was.
um, so I'm feeling pretty confident. Now it could be, next week when we do our podcast, I could be, you know,
God.
just a mess,
I,
talking about
I
a
know.
collapse and a choke, and but I'm hoping not. I feel good, and that's often
Okay.
scary. It's a
Good.
scary place to be as a sports fan.
That's what I'm saying. I
You
know.
know,
Me too.
you
I
don't
feel
want,
that way too.
but
That's why I'm tempering it with thinking that we'll go to game 7 because
yeah,
I don't want to get to see. I'll tell you how
it's so weird, dude, because this is such a reversal of our normal roles. Because
I know.
you're usually
This has been going
Pollyannish.
this way for years with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually the one who's ready to jump off a cliff, or and you're well, it's weird though, because with my brother is more negative than I am, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
you're always, Pollyannish and Mr.
Yep.
Optimism. So I always felt like
Yep.
with you, I was always more negative. With Adam, I was always more positive. Like, and I'm like in between there. So you're like this. He's like the id, you're the super ego, and I'm the ego, or something like that. I don't know, but
Is
here
that how it
this is
works? Yeah.
I don't know. That well, that's Freud's theory. But I don't think it actually works like that, but that's the way his theory works. Anyway,
Gotcha.
you were going to say how you felt.
Yeah. It's been weird. Like, let me start off by saying I'm tempering how I feel right now. Like I said, by thinking it's going to go 7
Right.
because I want to be optimistic. I want to say we're going to go up to Montreal, close it out in 6 and all that. But you know what? Actually, really, aside from my emotions, I actually don't think that's going to happen. This is going to go 7, and it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to take years off my life on Wednesday night in Game 7. It just is. I just know it. Montreal Bruins series doesn't end in 6 games. The last time we played them in the playoffs, the first round of our Stanley Cup year,
Yeah.
um, we went to 7 games.
Yes.
And don't forget about that. That went to 7 games, and it was won in overtime by Nathan Horton goal.
Yep.
That's how close it is. That's how close it's going to be. I just feel that that's coming again.
No,
So how
that
I
that
felt,
makes sense.
how I
That,
felt throughout the series. After losing game 1, I did not feel too bad. I was like, all right, not great, but we played well. So I wasn't too down. Came back in game 2 with that fantastic comeback. I felt great. Then we lost game 3. We're down 2-1. That's when I started to get like, oh God, because what happens when you get down 1 game is it puts so much emphasis on the next game.
yeah.
Because if you lose that next game, you're down 3-1, and we've never come back from 3-1 in the playoffs. And it's the Canadians; it would have been over. But we won game 4 to make it 2-2, and at that point, I'm feeling okay, pretty good. Prior to that, game 3 to me, or was it game 4? I'm sorry, game 4 to me was like do or die. I was really tense about that
Oh yeah.
game. And that was the extreme for me because of the ramifications if we lost that.
Oh yeah.
Now up 3-2, I want to be like, I want to be super optimistic. But again, part of me, Shawn, and this has developed over the years, and this goes back to the past 12, 13 years of being a Boston sports fan. With all the success we've had, I am much more able to take the good with the bad now, okay, or take the bad in stride better because we've won so much
Oh yeah.
in this decade plus of dominance. I know what it's like to be a winner. A loss doesn't crush me the way it used to. Now, look, listen, this season with the Bruins having the best team they've had in my memory, I think they're several steps ahead of the team that won the Cup 3 years ago.
Yeah. More an
Um,
all-around team.
it
Do you think they're better than the
they're
team in
so,
the '90s that
oh
won
yeah,
the
oh
trophy?
yeah, they're so much deeper. They're so much deeper. They had Cam Neely and Adam Oates and a good goalie and a good defenseman. They did not have the three line depth that the Bruins have now, and that's what came out to play in Game 5, the third line. They were awesome. Soderberg, Frazier,
Mhm.
um, Erickson, and that's the depth. That's what makes us that much better right now. We have that depth. So what I'm getting at is if we lose to the Canadians, it's going to crush me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am trying to build a defensive wall against
I
my
got you.
emotions getting crushed right now.
Sure.
This will crush me. Okay. So I kid myself when, let's say, we get down in game 6 or we're in game 7. I do this little mechanism in my head where I go, all right, well, if we lose, it's okay.
Yeah.
We won a
Whatever.
Stanley Cup 3 years ago. We've
Yeah.
won all these championships as a Boston sports fan. I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay. But deep down, I'm crying.
Yep. No, I do the same thing.
Side. So
Do the same thing where you
do
just
you?
try to talk yourself out of the importance of it, or even you this doesn't really matter. It's just a game. It's
Right.
whatever, um and then they win and you're like, yeah, you
Oh my
go
God, I'm so
crazy.
ecstatic.
Yeah.
I know.
And you just lied to yourself completely. You just completely lied to
I
yourself.
know. I know, right?
I mean, it works a
I was
little bit. It does temper it a little bit, and when they do lose, and I mean, we even in this period of great success, because I mean, the last 15
mm,
years as a Boston sports fan, I mean, the rest of the country hates us.
Unbelievable.
And
Oh, of course.
I mean, there's a lot of other sort of new Boston sports fan. I mean, I know people. Um, one of the women who comes into Starbucks, she works at a different Starbucks, but she comes in and she's a Patriots fan. She's not from Boston at all. Um, but she's a Patriots fan, and I run into people
Wow.
that are Red Sox fans, but they're not from Boston or anything, and
That's
so
cool.
they're new fans, and that's cool. I'm not one of these sort of guys that thinks, oh well, you weren't a fan back in the '80s, you don't know who Bill Buckner is, you're not a real fan, you know,
Bah,
that's not fair because you need new
please.
fans, and new
Everyone
fan,
becomes a fan at some point. Yeah.
right, right. So I got no problem with that. Um,
Mm.
but it's, so, but, 15 years of tremendous success, but there's been some haunting losses in there. I mean, yeah,
Oh, God.
pre 2004, with, Aaron Boone's home run. I mean, that was devastating.
Oh,
I mean, I just,
oh.
I remember sitting there watching it in the dark at my brother's house because he couldn't watch it. So he left the room. And, and so I was in there. The ball sailed over. It's a home run. I shut the TV off and I left. I just left, and my brother came out like 20 minutes later, and he's like, "Where's Shawn?" Like he didn't know I left. I just left, And I mean, and then obviously you have 2007 and 2009
Hmm.
with the Patriots against the Giants, um,
Turn the
and
TV off and move on to something else as
yeah,
quickly as you can.
ah,
You know,
just brutal.
that's what I do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nice. No, I mean, particularly having all the teams having won championships at this point, except for the Revolution, uh, in the last 15 years. That it's and as much as we're fans of all things Boston, we pull for Revolution. It's not that doesn't mean the same thing to us at this point.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still want to include them. But I mean, having all
Sure.
those championships there is a buffer. It's sort of like, okay, look, we've tasted it. We know what it's like. We can get back
Right.
there again.
Right.
And even if we don't, we've been there. So we can always have those. We have those memories, and I mean they're
Right.
fading. I mean the Patriots memories are starting to fade a little bit, and so I think that's a good transition point. Then maybe start talking about the Patriots draft. What do you think about that?
Well,
What's your overall feel? Yeah.
my overall feel is good. Okay. Um, the first round pick, Dominic Easley.
Yep.
From what I've seen and read, I saw some video clips, which it's highly subjective type of stuff that you're seeing when someone puts together a bunch of clips. It's promo-ish, but um, he's definitely got some explosion. He seems to have a real nose for the ball, for the quarterback, for the ball carrier, that kind of thing. The injuries worry anybody, but apparently he's good to go. So I think that I like the pick a lot. It's a bit of a risk because of the injuries, but the upside could be huge. So I'm okay with that. I'm good with it actually. We'll see how he works out. The biggest thing that I think happened in this draft for the Patriots was, you know what I'm going to say, right, Shawn?
I do.
Picking Janine Garofalo's son, um,
Oh, that's
Mr.
terrible.
Mr. Garoppolo. Um, the significance of the Patriots picking a quarterback in the second round, not just grabbing somebody late fifth, sixth round, something like that. See if this guy can work out. They are definitely. This makes me sad a little bit, but it is reality, and the Patriots have never turned away from reality in forethought and planning. They're preparing for post Brady
Oh yeah.
as yeah, and
I
they
mean
have to.
they said
Um,
as much. I
and
mean Belichick pretty
yeah,
much said that. I mean, that's what they're doing.
yeah, it's really significant. It's one of the most significant, I think, draft picks in a while, just for what it symbolizes. And this kid sounds like he's got some good tools. He's out of what, Eastern Illinois or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the pick for that reason, but the main talking point I think about that pick is that it was such a high draft pick. I mean, you pick it in the second round, you can get a lot of other strong picks at that point in the
Yep.
draft, but you use your second round pick on a quarterback who you're gonna groom to replace Brady is a big signal that the Patriots are planning for post Brady.
Oh yeah.
which
I mean, it's
as
not
a
even a
as a
signal. I mean, it's an
right,
announcement.
and
I
it's
mean,
it is right. It is what it right.
yeah.
Um, but
Now,
that's hard for us. That's hard for me to deal with a little bit because it brings it further advances in my mind and in the minds of Patriots Nation that Brady's time is coming to. We all know that, but
right.
this brings it more, makes it more concrete, and that it's great that they're doing it, but it's also sad to think that the greatest quarterback in the history of the game, a god really in the New England area, is coming to the end of his time. So we'll never see anyone like him, I don't think. But best we can do is hopefully plan and get somebody good to replace it so we can continue to be a contending team.
This is a big signal. This is an announcement, right? Going forward, Brady is, we are thinking post Brady. What I think is, there's a couple questions that I think are interesting to discuss about this. One, um, is, just is this the guy, right? Which is
Mm.
remains to be seen. There isn't a lot that I mean, neither one of us are scouts or analysts or anything like that. So it's not like we watched him play. Maybe we'll see some clips. Everything that I read, he's a smart, consistent, reliable guy. He's going to go to Brady University for 3 or 4 years. So he could be the guy, and that would be sweet. If he turns out to be good. What I think is interesting is, and I was talking about this with my brother the other day. What is this signal about Belichick and Belichick's plans? Is Belichick
Hmm.
thinking? I mean, there's because there's when you think about post Brady, sometimes you think, okay, well, it's Belichick's going to go when Brady goes. I mean, Belichick's getting up there,
Hmm.
and but I think this says Belichick's not going anywhere because he's not wasting a
Hmm.
second round pick for somebody else to
That's a
play
good
with.
point.
You know,
Yep.
he's
You're
he's
right.
he's shopping for himself, and for
Yeah.
I mean, he's an organization guy, so I don't think he would screw over the organization knowing that he's going to leave. But I don't think he's planning,
Right.
4 or 5 years down the road for somebody else. I mean, I think he's thinking long term there, and that's interesting in and of itself that he's picking a
Yeah.
quarterback for his future as well.
Yeah. I hadn't looked at it that way. He may be picking it partially as still the on-field coach, or also moving into a capacity as
Just the GM.
general manager,
Mm.
yeah, vice president, president kind of role, and having Chip Kelly or somebody or O'Brien come in and coach. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's
But
true.
that would
That's a
be
good point. That's a good point that he may know that he's got like kind of like an Elway type future with the Patriots.
that's
You
what I'm
know,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, that's good. That could happen as well. Um, but that's one of the interesting big features of that. I mean, um, is what it says about that. Yeah, so QB of the future. That's certainly one of the themes. Another theme connected to this is opportunity costs, and you mentioned that
Right.
already. With both the first two picks, that in it, you know Garoppolo, easily, they seem in and of themselves. You just look at them in isolation. I don't have a problem with either one. Like easily, uh, you know, he would have been a top five, top 10, maybe top 15, depending on who you read, guy without his injury. And now that's all counterfactual. Who knows what he would have really been like had he played without the injuries? But based on the projections of what he was and what he did on the field when he was there, guys are saying that he's a top five, top 10 talent, and we get him at the bottom of the first round. That could be a steal. Big upside,
Yep.
huge upside. The word that that comes up in almost everything you read about him is explosive, explosive, explosive. So that's awesome. Now, connected to that explosive though is his knees because they seem to keep exploding. So that's the risk, right? And now, and I don't know about the ACL injuries. Like, okay, when you come back and it's fully healed, are you any more likely to injure it? Some of it depends probably on your ligaments as well. I mean, my understanding is that there's a range of tight ligament types, or that people have. Some that are more brittle and more prone to
Mm,
breaking, others that are more flexible. And there's a whole range
hmm
there, just like any other sort of human feature. We're going to have a range of that, and it could be that he has the gene or the gene set of genes for more brittle ligaments.
Mm.
Um, that would be a worry. Or it could just be that
Yep.
these were freak accidents and
Mm.
he'll be fine going forward. I mean, guys can tear the ACL and then never have another one, right? And so it's a question of one, you just don't know what's going to happen injury wise. I mean, to say that a guy's
Yeah.
had two injuries, we talk about injury prone, but I don't know. That's a narrative to me, and it's a narrative built on pretty much some um, bad sample sizings, too small a sample size. You don't really know.
Mm.
So the guy had two major injuries. That doesn't mean he's injury prone. I mean, I don't even know what that means, injury prone, unless you're talking about genetic predisposition. So, I don't know what injury prone means. And
Mm.
in that, unless you're talking about someone who's got genetic predisposition towards weak bones or weak ligaments, and I think those guys probably wash out sooner, and they're not going to end up really being professional athletes because they're those things are going to get hurt so
Right.
early on. And so I don't really, I don't put a lot of stock in that. I mean, but then where that can come up is mentally, right? So a guy
Mm.
mentally gets hurt a couple times, maybe he starts thinking he's injury prone
Mm.
and doesn't play the same, and
Right.
that maybe that's what's going on with Amendola,
Mm.
and we haven't seen him be the kind of player that people said he was going to be. Uh,
Right.
and some people say, "Oh, he's injury prone," and I don't buy that, but I do wonder what the mental effect is. Do you start thinking you're injury prone, and that affects your play? That's a big deal. Do you come back, and try to come back, but can't quite bring yourself to go full speed or to play hard or as hard as you need to play or bring the same or you're thinking about getting hurt, and maybe
Right.
that makes it more likely that you're going to get hurt. A
Right.
lot of athletes talk about that. So those are
Yep.
all sort of things that go in, and you hope that the Patriots have talked to the guy and get a feel that, and his comments seem to indicate that. What did he say? He said he came back stronger after the first ACL, so he expects to come back even stronger after the second. So that,
Like
I
the
mean, now
attitude.
I like that. Now maybe it's a false bravado, but if it's a
Mm.
real bravado, then I think that's if he's not going to let him affect him mentally, then um, then I think that's a much better sign. The
Mm.
question with him is not so much with him, but who else was on the board, right?
Mm.
Who else could they have taken in that first round that could have been not someone with the same upside, right? Because there's not a lot of guys that are going to be top five, top 10 talents. But there were some very highly touted other defensive linemen that were on the board. Now, they're all risks, right? I mean, a guy's never been injured doesn't mean he's not going to walk on the field in training camp and blow a knee in a drill, right? That can happen.
Right.
It happens every year,
Right.
right? So, um, and guys come out highly touted and they amount to nothing, and guys come out
Yep.
and no one knows who they are. They get drafted somewhere around, oh, let's say the 199th pick, and they turn out to be Hall of Fame players. So it's always a risk, but you do wonder who else was on the board. Could they have taken?
Right.
And now, and why? So why did they feel they needed to take that risk there? Now, one of the rumors that was floating around was that Seattle was going to take Easterly, right?
That's right.
And or Eastley, I don't know, Eastley or Eastley, I think is the way it's it.
Easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they were
Easily.
going to take him, and I guess the Patriots, they wanted him. They probably felt like they could get him in the second round, and they wanted him. And when they saw that Seattle or heard that Seattle was going to go after him, they felt they needed to take the jump. If that rumor's true, that makes sense to me. Um, and because then Seattle trades out pretty quickly after that. So
Right.
who knows? You never know. But and same with Garoppolo, right? Who else was on the board in that second
Mm.
round that they could have taken?
Right.
Were there other
Yeah.
QBs, that they passed
Hmm.
up? I mean, a lot of people talked about McCarron, Savage, these other two guys, and Savage ended up being the
That's
guy
right.
that O'Brien took for
That's right.
Houston. Now, it's not like Garoppolo was someone who was sort of unknown, right? I mean, he in a couple different places, if you look at the pre-draft rankings, he's in the top 10 pre-draft
Mm.
rankings, and there are a couple guys um, that were still on the board that were above him in those rankings, but those guys ended up not going to like the fifth or sixth round. So
Right. And McCarron didn't go till what, the fourth or
fifth,
fifth
I
round?
think he went in the fifth
Fifth.
round to
All
Cincinnati.
right. So.
So in terms of quarterbacks, I think that's. it's the quarterbacks that were still available. One rumor is that they wanted Bortles, the guy that
Oh
Jackson,
yeah,
and that they were hoping
Blake
that he might,
Bortles. Yeah.
yeah, that they were hoping that he might fall to them, which would
Mm,
have been a kind of a pipe dream. I don't think he was going to fall that far, but
no.
so they're sitting in the second round. They know they want to take a quarterback. He's probably if you were committed to taking a quarterback in the second round, I think Garoppolo probably was the best guy left on the board as far as I can tell, at least.
Hmm.
Now, best guy, I think they always have to understand that when you say that, best guy for what the Patriots do and want to do offensively. Both in
Hmm.
terms of someone who's going to be an ultimate replacement for Brady, but also a solid backup. So someone who's going to match
Hmm.
the kind of play that Brady brings, not someone who's going to be really different, right? Because
Hmm.
and it seems like what I've been reading is that Garoppolo is a Brady type quarterback, a guy who
Yep.
smart
That's what
decision
I've read.
maker, consistent, reliable,
Right.
that kind of thing. So not someone who's going to be running around and being
Right.
like a Manziel type and just sort of
Right.
seeing what kind of magic you can make happen. Um,
As a fan, I've learned to appreciate the decision making of the quarterback position over the quick release,
yeah,
the throws the deep ball, can make all the throws,
absolutely.
has all the tools.
Yeah,
The tool that is most important is decision making. So if
absolutely.
Garoppolo has a good sound grasp of making good quick decisions out there, then I'll take that any day.
Right. I mean, look at the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, the top two, 1A and 1B, however you want to argue it out, are Peyton and Brady, right? And those guys are the smartest football players out there. Those.
Hmm.
But I think you look at some of the other guys that are top. I think they're good decision makers too. Rodgers, Breeze.
That's right.
The- You
Yep.
know, the other guys. I mean, they flash up and down because they're not good decision makers. And they'll
That's right. That's the difference.
yeah, and so they might have um, good skills, but you got to know how to put those skills to work and when to put them to
Right.
work. And I think that's the strength of a Brady and a Manning, or Peyton Manning,
Right. Look at
because Eli is
look at
Shawn.
Bledsoe. Look at Bledsoe, who
Yeah,
Brady replaced. Bledsoe had as a cannon for an arm,
yeah,
and he played quite well for the Patriots for several years. Took us to a Super Bowl. But what was starting to really become noticeable about him was he was making slow decisions, making
yeah,
poor decisions.
absolutely.
And Brady comes in, it's the exact opposite, and well, we know the rest. So there you go.
So I think if you're going to take a quarterback in the second round, I feel good about taking him. But one of the other, the things that people are talking about is what other positions that we could fill, other needs. Tight end
Right.
is a big need. Partly though, the tight end thing, they picked up a whole bunch of guys, undrafted tight ends after the draft. They signed like three or four tight
Hmm.
ends. They're still,
Hmm.
I hope, in conversations with Dustin Keller, right? I mean, he
Hmm.
left without a contract. And I mean, if they sign Keller, forget it. Whatever. You don't need another tight end. Um, so that could be what.
Gronk and Keller, forget about it.
Yeah. That would be. I said that would be killer.
Duh.
uh,
Bad
that
choice of words, my
that is a
friend.
bad joke. Sorry, I apologize for that. So with the first two
Mm,
picks, the thing that I'm concerned about was the opportunity cost. Who else was on the board that they could have taken that could have had a more immediate impact? Now, easily may have
right.
an impact. I don't think he'll start, but he may have an impact next season with the Patriots from day
Hmm.
one, rotating in and being part of packages and stuff.
Hmm.
You don't want to see Garoppolo for another 4 years, right? I mean, I don't want to see him take
Right.
the field unless we're winning by 40-0. No,
Right.
not anyway.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but there could have been other guys. I mean, they still have a need at safety that I think still needs to be addressed in
Yeah.
some
They
way.
haven't addressed it. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, they drafted a safety um,
Oh, they did?
in the sixth round. Um,
No.
yeah, it's Ja'May Thomas from Georgia Tech. So
Okay. But
and
they picked up a guard. They picked up at least another two offensive linemen,
yeah,
I think.
yeah, lots
Which
lots of
I
depth
love
on
that
that.
pick. I love those picks. I don't know those picks intimately, the men themselves, but I love what's behind that. They have to Brady is not getting more mobile, he's getting less mobile. Protect the quarterback, protect your number one asset. I love that move.
Yeah, no, you need that depth at offensive line, and they definitely were getting some of that. So I mean, I think once you get out of the second round, I think their draft was really solid, picking for depth, picking for guys that
Hmm.
are going to be I was going to say spring training, but preseason depth, camp get depth, guys that are going to compete and so on. I don't know if
Yep.
not all these guys are going to make the team, but and then they signed a whole bunch of guys afterwards, um, and and so that's there's more depth out there, and so there's I still feel pretty good. I mean, I'm not as down on the draft as a lot of other Patriots fans are, and you hope that this works out pretty well, but you don't know, and that's the way it is with drafts. It's you can't really judge a draft until 2 3 years out, and 2 3 years
Nope.
out, we may be talking about this as a brilliant draft, or we may be talking about this as a bad draft, because we had an opportunity to take, you know, uh, a real
So and
difference
so.
maker. Yeah, a real difference maker,
Yeah.
and we passed him up like we've done in the past. I mean, we could have got Ryan Matthews. We passed up guys in the past. So it's easy to look back with hindsight and think, okay, well, this guy was going to be a beast. How many times
Hmm.
guys projected to be beasts and don't do anything, right? Or they break,
Yeah.
they they injure themselves and are never the same. So I mean, it's always a
Right.
risk, and so it when it comes to draft, I don't always go too deep with the Bill we trust, because they've had some awful drafts in the years. They've had some great drafts. I mean, one thing that people point out a lot with the Easterly pick is how well the Patriots have done in the past picking defensive linemen in the first round, right? But the guys we were picking, Will Fork, Warren, and so on, didn't have torn ACLs. So I mean, that's um,
True.
so we'll
Uh,
see. But
a stat I heard that should make us all feel better about the first round pick. Over the last 10 years, every first round pick that Bill made worked out. Two of them, eight of them, 8 of 10, 80% worked out hands down. The Mayos, the Wilforks, you go down the list, McCourties, etc. The only two players you could question, Lawrence Maroney and Brandon Merriweather.
yeah,
And those both contributed to winning teams in ways. You could legitimately say 10 of 10 in the past 10 years, first round draft picks,
8 of 10.
all worked out.
I'd say
Eight
eight.
of
Maroney
okay.
did not work out. No, I'm sorry. Maroney
Well, he
did not
brought us
work.
to the 18-0. He was a good running back that year, but I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Merriweather, I'd
Merriweather
say,
was
is more debatable.
two Pro Bowls,
Yeah,
still in the league,
yeah,
but he
yeah.
wasn't
See,
much. But
I mean, Maroney
they,
wasn't. That's a bust. I'm sorry, that's a bust.
oh, I
That's a
he's
bust.
not a bust. He
He's
was
a
a
bust.
bust.
Maroney's a bust. Merriweather
But
wasn't, but
I'll agree to
Merriweather just
disagree.
wasn't a good fit. I think for
I
the
think
Patriots.
Merriweather was more of a bust than Maroney.
How so? He's
But
still in the league. He's still contributing. He plays for the Bears, right? I mean, he's still
yeah, but
contributing. Maroney's playing golf. I mean, how is that?
he's viewed. I from what I understand, he's viewed by the Bears the same way we viewed him.
Yeah.
He's a trick or treat kind of guy. He makes big hits, but also makes stupid plays.
Okay, he's a bust
Um,
as a first rounder. I'll grant you that.
okay, as a
Uh,
first rounder, yes.
Yeah.
Maroney as a first rounder, okay, yes. But as an overall thing, I don't think either one of them are busts. I don't think so. But I will say 8 of 10 have
Okay.
worked out very very well.
Okay. Although,
So
partly though is you go across the teams, most teams probably have a similar stat. Unless maybe they're like a couple like the Raiders
I'd be
probably don't.
surprised. I'd be
But
surprised. I'd be surprised if they had a
yeah,
similar stat 8 of 10.
because
I could look into that.
if you're picking in the first round, you're picking guys that are really good. So chances
Yes.
are they're going to be good. You know, I so
Maybe I'll
I
look into that. See what the
yeah.
other you know.
I mean, there's certainly teams like the Raiders and the Browns that are going to throw that off, right? And they're going to always pick the wrong guy,
Right, right,
which
right. Of course, the
which I
Raiders are great at picking the wrong
oh
guy.
yeah,
It's so terrible.
and the sports gods just hate Cleveland. So I think as I said on
Right,
Twitter, so Manziel goes to Cleveland, pretty much assures that he's going to be a bust.
right.
So Patriots draft overall, how do you feel?
I feel good. I like what they did. There were
Yeah.
some risks they took, but I'm okay with them. And yeah, I like what they've done so far. I'm good with it for now.
Yeah, I feel okay. I don't know. Good is a little strong. I feel okay. I like the second half of the draft. I like the picking for depth. The top two picks. in and of themselves, I feel okay with them. I think that possibly they both could work out really well. Like I don't think they were in themselves bad choices. My concern there is just that opportunity cost. Who else was there that they could have taken that might have been able to contribute either tomorrow or, in a year or two, you know, uh,
Hmm.
and but I'm also okay with taking the risk. I think it's an intelligent risk that they took. That
Hmm.
he'll probably be back for training camp, and
Hmm.
be able to start contributing. Um, and we need a player like that if he turns out to be the kind of player that he's projected to be. And
Right.
picking the quarterback for the future. I mean, you got to start thinking about that. At the same
Yep.
time, I mean, I still have some sympathy for the window for the Brady. However good Garoppolo is going to be, he's not going to be as good as Brady, right? I mean,
Well,
come on.
no.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is not going to be a Montana Steve Young situation, right?
Nope.
And so the window with your Hall of Fame quarterback is closing, making the team tomorrow better to win this season or next season. Uh, you know, I, I want some of that, and I don't know how much I really saw of that in this draft, of
Hmm.
thinking of this season and next. I think a lot of this was
Okay.
for down the road. Now, some of these guys that they, or even easily might be able to contribute next year, but I think they were thinking long term.
Well,
But maybe they feel pretty strong about their team and some of their free agent options, and
yeah.
that's
Well, what did you want them to take? Wide receivers and tight ends?
no, no, because
Okay. Well, what do you mean
yeah,
then? Because they took offensive linemen.
yeah. Well, I guess when you're
You
looking at
want
the
to take they've got this. They've got Darrell Revis. What else were you looking? What would here's my safety? Maybe I guess is what you're
safety,
referring to. But
a D
okay.
a D lineman who's not on crutches. Um,
Okay.
so
Fair enough.
but we'll see. I mean, if Beasley comes out and competes next year and is able to play, then and I think some of the guys we got are Chandler Jones and I think they're getting better, and our defense is I think better than it
Yeah.
was. And yeah, I don't think you can address wide receiver. We have a ton of wide receivers depth. They did draft a wide receiver and they signed a couple I think afterwards too. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
but I think we have a core of young guys that are coming up, and so I
Mm-hmm.
feel okay with that. I mean, you got to get them weapons. Well, look, what are they going to do? Trade up to the top 10 to get a surefire
Right.
wide
Watkins or
receiver? Yeah,
something. Yeah. No.
you're not going, and then wide receivers is a position that is for the Patriots has been tough, really tough to find, and
Yeah.
I think that the kind of guy they got to find that guy in free agency. They're not going to find him in the draft.
Yep.
So Red Sox, they were winning last I checked against
Texas.
the Texas. They were
Yep.
they were doing a pretty good job against them, and their offense has been coming on as we were talking about
Yep.
last week. The pitching's getting a
Pitching's
little
been
better,
coming on.
but not Buckholz.
Buckles not too good.
Yeah,
Lester got a win yesterday. He pitched very, very well. Not terrific, but very well. And against the lineup, Texas lineup that usually gives our pitchers fits. And as if we're winning now, Lackey was throwing good today. Then last
yeah.
I checked, it was 3-0. That was a couple hours ago.
It was, it,
And they're at 500. So I like that. I mean, I don't like it, but I like that they've not fallen below 500.
yeah.
Or
Well, if they win today,
they battled so hard to get there.
if they win today, they'll be above 500, and they're
Right, right.
only a couple games back. So yeah, the Sox are up 5-2 at this point. So they've I'm still worried about Buckholz. So Red Sox, it's still early. Well, I feel,
Yep,
just watching the games, enjoying it. Um,
yep.
Liverpool did
Won their
not,
game, but didn't win the league.
right.
Yep,
They lost by 2 points, but
yep.
I mean, we knew that going into the game or the matches today that Liverpool had a very small chance because Man
Right.
City wasn't going to lose to West Brom, and then when I turned
Yeah.
on the game, the Liverpool game, Liverpool was down. I was kind of worried, but they came back. They won that 2-1. They had a great season. They had a season
Hmm.
that I think um, people didn't expect them to finish as high as they did. Certainly to be in the last game in title contention. That was
Hmm.
fantastic. They're going into the Champions League next year, so um,
Awesome.
that should be good. So I think that they got a great manager, I'm looking forward to seeing them play next year. It's kind of sad that
I'm
it's
proud
over.
of our boys across the pond.
Yeah. Revolution play tonight. They got a big game
Yep.
against the Seattle Sounders tonight. Clint Dempsey.
Right.
coming back.
Yep.
Both,
That's right. Yep.
you know, former revolutionary, former revolutionary. Uh,
Revolutionary.
yeah, you should call him
Former
that.
Revolution player.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
coming back next week on the pod, we'll have some more. Obviously, Bruins hockey is the main thing to be talking about. So hopefully, we'll be talking about Eastern Conference next week, Eastern Conference
Hmm.
Finals. Talking about playing probably. I don't know. I mean,
I
um,
don't know either, but I'd
yeah,
rather play Pittsburgh. I think just for what we talked about the other day, we smoked them last year, and they're not a better team. We're a better team this year. We match
matchup.
Canadians don't match up well with us. We match up really well against Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
They don't have much defense. Their goalie is a hit or miss kind of goalie, and we shut down their offensive stars really well. The Rangers, on the other hand, they're a nitty gritty team. I think we beat either one of them, but I think we know Pittsburgh better, so I'd
yeah.
rather play the double that you know is better than the double you don't know. I think it's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, and like I said in my text, it'd be fun to beat up on Crosby again, and yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
matchups are just better, and it's always about matchups. So hopefully we'll be talking about that instead of
Yeah.
wallowing
Oh,
in a feeling of collapse. And
either way, everybody's got to tune in for next week because it'll
yeah,
be interesting one way or another.
definitely. And um, then we'll probably talk a little Patriots schedule breakdown. Um,
That'll be cool.
maybe some Red Sox, seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, this has been
All
fun.
right, Shawnee. Had fun, man. Do it again next week, baby.